Welcome to the presidential complex, which has become a veteran place on July 15th. It's a great pleasure for me to host you at the home of the nation. Our history of national, in terms of our history of national struggles, this is a very significant anniversary, and I would like to thank everyone who brought us together on this occasion. I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation and come here to commemorate the memory of poet Mehmet Akif. On a cold summer evening, we have sent Mehmet Akif Ersoy to the afterlife on the shoulders of the youth, and I commemorate him once again. May he rest in peace, and may his position, may his place be heaven. And on this occasion, we should also commemorate the martyrs of Gallipoli, or our troops who protected our homeland from the occupiers during the War of Independence, or our soldiers who brought the Cyprus peace operation to victory, those who exerted great defiance, and on July 15th, those who were able to stop the attacks of FETÖ traitors, and our soldiers who fight very bravely in a legendary way, both inside and outside our borders, against terror groups. I'd like to wish God's blessings on all of their souls, and I extend my gratitude to veterans, and I wish health and a long life to those who are still with us. May God keep us on the sacred path of the martyrs. We are a nation whose essence has poetry. We have legends coming to us from a century ago, which have played a very important role in the formation of our national character. The land of Anatolia is a land which makes poets sultans, and which makes sultans poets. And it is a fertile land where power comes from the pen. This land has given us Yunus Emre, Hacı Bayram, Fuzuli, Nabi, Nedim, Erzurumlu Emrah, Şeyh Galip, Nefi, Süleyman Çelebi, and Yahya Kemal, and many other masters of the pen and of the word, and has given them as a gift to the whole humanity. Literatures and trends may change over centuries, but they are fed from the same source, and for that reason they have always expressed the same meaning, because in their lines they sometimes express sorrow, sometimes love, sometimes brotherhood and unity, or love for the homeland. This is a very deep-rooted tradition, and its top representative in the past century was our national poet Mehmet Akif Ersoy. He has always expressed what he has witnessed. He has brought, he has reflected his poetry in his life, and his life into his poetry. He has lived like he believed, and he did not express any opinion that he did not suffer for, or no idea that did not go through the filter of his heart in his poetry. With his poetry, his sermons, his articles, and with his struggle and his personality, he has gained a significant position, a prominent place in the hearts of our nation. And with his life, his stance, he represents the title of being an independence poet. No emotion that is not present in our nation or in its poet was present in the Independence March. Against the colony intellectuals, he was the voice and breath of this land, and he is a symbolic personality. Cenab Şahabettin, for instance, said nobody is as pure or as transparent as Mehmet Akif in expressing our national emotions. As occupying armies were going through Anatolia, he carried important magazines in his arms. He went from city to city and invited our nation to stand up. He was invited by Mustafa Kemal to attend the national fight. He accepted the invitation of Atatürk and he went to Ankara mostly on foot in order to create the spiritual front of our national struggle and our war of independence. His close friend Eşref Edip, when he is describing him, he says he is a full soldier. He is actually a commander. He has the rifle in one hand and ammunition on him. He is like a hawk and he is able to go through endless deserts. Yes, Mehmet Akif, who penned our independence march, was such a personality. When needed with his pen, or when needed with his words, or when needed with his rifle, he was able to defend his homeland. And he was in love with independence. Even when his books were collected and even when he faced poverty, he always advised his friends to serve the homeland, and he was a true lover of his homeland. As a patriot, even though he was in a voluntary exile in Egypt for a long time, he never turned his back on the nation or on the country because, according to him, no matter what kind of attitude he was subjected to, he thought this was the source of revival and hope. He believed that a nation's values are the only way to preserve a nation. He, when it comes to humanitarian values, he was also an exceptional figure. He was very brave. He was very careful and sensitive towards those in need. He was very generous. He was given an award because of his independence march by force, but even though he did not even have a jacket to wear, he donated his award. He was very brave. He did not keep silent in the face of injustices. As he expressed in this line, he always said what he thought was right. He was always honest. When he made a promise, he tried to fulfill it, even it cost his life. For instance, the founder of Kandilli Observatory was one of his close friends, and he expressed this by saying, one day we agreed on having lunch and having a chat together in my house with Mehmet Akif. It was such a rainy and stormy weather that there were floods everywhere. I thought he would not be able to make it to my home under such weather conditions, so I went to one of my nearby neighbors. When I came back home, I noticed that Mehmet Akif was waiting for me and he was fully soaked when he couldn't find me. Despite all the insistence of those in the house, he did not go in. He said, "Send my greetings," and under that rain, he went back. The following day, I wanted to apologize to him, and he said, "When you promise, you can only break it in case of death or a similar situation." And for after that, he did not talk to me for 6 months. not only in his daily life but also in his works. His essence and his words and what he wrote and how he lived were always in coherence with each other because he was a symbol of honesty. He was against lethargy or laziness or despair. For instance, the following poem expresses this in the best way possible. He was able to make a distinction between reliance on God and laziness, and he was able to speak Arabic and Persian and Turkish with full command. He was a real intellectual, and as Nurettin Topçu, who was an admirer of him, said, mentions him as a person who has full command of these three areas, and the three areas are a history of 1000 years of history, which is also a body which is similar to Süleymaniye and the Book of God. In his 63 years of challenging life, he never chased titles or positions or popularity. Even though he was the top poet of his time, when he was praised, he was usually embarrassed and he was very humble throughout his life. He only wanted to be remembered positively. As mentioned here, he lived very silently and he drew his last breath in his cold and small apartment at the Mısır building. It was only a small 65 square meter apartment. He is sometimes insulted by those who are forgotten over time, but our nation continues cherishing its national poet and has always commemorated him in great gratitude after his death. He had an exemplary life and he has left behind our national agreement text, which is our Independence March, which starts as "Fear not, for the crimson banner that proudly ripples in this glorious dawn shall not fade." He is the writer of our national oath, and it's a symbol of our belonging, our collection of values, and our understanding of independence and future. Of course, every nation may have a national anthem, which is a sign of their independence, but our war of independence was fought against global giants. And it's the only in the march in the world, the only anthem which is accepted in tears. It was written in a tekke and in a lodge, and it was first recited in a mosque, and it was accepted at the parliament under thunderous applause. Because of the conditions that our country was in, it is also not only a anthem of independence but also of the future, and for that reason It is a source of inspiration for not only our nation but also all the oppressed in different parts of the world. It played an important role in the shaking of the oppression in different parts of the world, both the Independence March and the Independence War. As a nation, we should be very grateful for having such a figure and such a march. And with this understanding, we have declared the year 2021 the year of the Independence March and Mehmet Akif Ersoy on the occasion of the centennial anniversary of the march, and this was carried out with the full agreement of the five political parties in the parliament. Different political parties with different opinions and positions have displayed a shared position when it comes to such a national issue, which is a major gain on behalf of our nation. As I expressed yesterday, there are still certain circles which have difficulty in internalizing our independence march, but we know that they are a minority. Every individual who eats the bread or breathes the air of this nation, every individual who is living freely in this land can have no problem with the independence march. No child of this nation can be offended by the independence march, especially people who carry the trust of the nation do not have the right to do so, because for the Turks, for the Kurds, for the Arabs, for the Alawis and Sunnis, it is the shared value and shared denominator of all 84 million citizens. It represents the unity and brotherhood of our nation. In our region, incidents have happened in the past few years which have reminded us this fact once again. Imperialists draw borders at the negotiation table, and those borders have been erased at the even the faintest quake, because communities which try to stay together based on interest could not save themselves from unrest, from the winds of unrest. But as the Turkish nation, we were able to push back all attacks against our survival. Based on the ethnical identities or factions of our nation, they try to divide us. But we upset their plans. For 40 years, for instance, the PKK problem, we did not allow it to reach its targets. Or the Daesh project, which came all the way to our borders, we did not allow it to grow its roots. Similarly, on July 15th, the FETÖ terror group attempted to occupy our land, but we defied them on the streets and on the city squares. We lost lives. We lost our sons to the soil, but we did not allow them to touch their dirty hands on our sacred values. We did not allow our calls to prayer to be taken down from the minarets, or we did not allow our flag, which is a symbol of our independence, to be taken down from the poles. And hopefully from now on, with the same determination, we will continue going towards our targets. Our independence march represents principles, and if we protect those principles, we can protect our national identity. If our brotherhood is strong, we can have a secure outlook to the future, just like the bricks of a wall. As expressed in this verse, we can stick to each other very carefully, and in this case, nobody from inside or outside can beat us. If we show any weakness, we have to pay the price as a nation altogether. And Mehmet Akif says unity helps us survive and elevates us, but division kills us. He drew our attention to this fact a century ago, and for that reason, we must focus on our uh, shared values rather than our differences. Especially when it comes to our independence and our future, we have to set aside our disagreements and have to come together in politics or in daily lives. Discussions or competition can happen very naturally. When more than one people are present in any place, it's very normal and natural to have differences of opinion. Actually, these differences are our richness and our diversity. But what must be underlined here is that our differences should not precede our brotherhood. As the president of Turkey, I believe we have to turn the year of the Independence March, the year 2021, into a historic occasion, historic opportunity. And with the events that we organize on this occasion, we should refresh our brotherhood, and as 84 million citizens, we should climb together around our Independence March. Even if we may be running on different lanes, we are still on the same boat, and our future is shared just like our past. We celebrate the centennial of our republic in 2023, and in this process, we should struggle to strengthen our unity as a nation. Turkey is our shared roof, and the Independence March is our shared oath. We have martyrs at every inch of this homeland, and it's our shared land, shared country. We should come together at this common denominator of Turkey, and the only way is to love each other for the Creator. One flag, one nation, one state, and one homeland. As long as we keep with these principles, our four principles, there is no obstacle or no challenge that we cannot overcome. As Mehmet Akif said, when hearts beat together, they can stay strong even against cannon fire. We are a nation which has changed ages and started new ages, and we are going to build our future together. We will first bring Turkey to its 2023 targets and then to its visions for 2053 and 2071. And we will achieve this together, hopefully. And as we live today, we will have a gift, a token from today, the Safahat, which was written by Mehmet Akif. And please keep it as a reference book because it was an advice of one of my teachers. He said you should always have Safahat right next to your bed. And I remembered that. And on the way out, we will distribute Safahat to all of our attendees today. And as I conclude my remarks, once again, I commemorate our poet and intellectual, Mehmet Akif Ersoy, in God's grace. And I congratulate all of our agencies, NGOs, universities, and our families. I hope we will celebrate this year and cherish it as it deserves. And I congratulate the Presidential Archives for preparing the book which documents his whole life. And the year 2021 was declared as the Year of Independence March, and my gratitude to everyone who contributed to this year. And I thank each one of you for attending this event, and I greet all of you, and I also thank the artists here on behalf of both myself and my nation.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, müsaadenizle ödül töreni için sizleri kısa bir süre daha sahnemizde misafir etmek istiyoruz efendim. Şimdi Burdur Mehmet Akif Üniversitesi'nce bu yıl üçüncüsü gerçekleştirilen Uluslararası Mehmet Akif